everyone. I've got beer chocolate with me, and Fluffy, as usual, turns it into a game. And as soon as the lights go on and we start getting ready, he runs. But Chocolate has been this patient, wonderful creature that I love so much. I love Fluffy too, and he's just a clown. But I want to wish to all of you the peace and love and light to my fellow Americans on this Thanksgiving Eve for tomorrow night. And I want to extend a Thanksgiving to all of my fellow humans around the world. I pray every day that we will have all the wars stop, that life on Earth will be cherished, and that the whole human family will soon be told there is other life in this universe. Tonight is an extraordinary milestone for me. It has taken nearly 3 years to get to this moment when I can say to all of you, please get your family, your friends, your coworkers to hear and share what began in April of 2017 for me, and then evolved into one of the most difficult challenges of my long journalism career. So I'm very happy now to show you the trailer for the world premiere of my Antarctica whistleblower documentary.
As far as the aliens go, there's more than one race. They have been in contact with Homo sapiens since time began. They seeded us.
There is a huge secret hidden deep underneath the ice in Antarctica. Military whistleblowers tell me that there are very large alien structures under 2 miles of Antarctic ice.
It needs to be open. The truth needs to be out.
That's right. I have finally finished my 65-minute documentary on Antarctica with the military whistleblowers, Spartan 1 and 2, who I want to thank so much and hope one day that I'm going to be able to have them with me side by side so they can talk to you directly. And I want all of you to know that doing this film that we now call Antarctica Alien Secrets Beneath the Ice is now available video on demand at Amazon and Vimeo. And here is the only website address that you need to get to either Amazon or Vimeo. It is earthfiles.com/Antarctica. Again, earthfiles.com/Antarctica. And there is Vimeo and Amazon and video on demand. I'm also going to keep that video on demand address at the top of my Earthfiles News website, so you can always go there and click. Now, the story does not end. 2 days ago, on November 25th, I interviewed retired U.S. Navy Captain Mark Wood from Boca Raton, Florida. He has been studying longitude and latitude data that was transmitted to me through encrypted email from other whistleblowers. And here now are excerpts from my discussion with Captain Wood that begin with an underwater image and its location in Antarctica. One whistleblower in November of 2019 has described a place where there are underwater structures approximately 530 miles from the American McMurdo Station going toward Marie Byrd Land. Remember, Marie Birdland is where 15 National Science Foundation scientists in 1996 were flown to a base camp and then disappeared for 2 weeks. When they returned, they would not talk to the C-130 flight crew that came to rescue them. The gossip in McMurdo at the American base was that those NSF scientists had gone under ice to meet with extraterrestrials at the South Pole. Further, I have been told that those scientists were taken off planet, and that's why they were in a state of shock and silence when the C-130 flight crew came to pick them up. Just what is the current relationship between extraterrestrial humanoids and Homo sapien humans in Antarctica? And where are human and ET meetings below water and ice? Tonight, joining me on my Earthfiles YouTube channel broadcast is retired U.S. Navy Captain Mark Wood from Boca Raton, Florida. He has been studying latitude and longitude data transmitted to me through encrypted email. Mark, welcome to Earthfiles, and let's start with the first image that you have been studying that is underwater at the Edward VII Peninsula on the coast of the Ross Sea.
That's correct. And the depth of the ocean bottom at that point is about 435 feet. And when I first saw these structures, what it reminded me of was when I was flying with the Navy and we would fly into and out of the Azores. The islands were covered with rock walls that separated one farm from the next. And as soon as I saw these structures, that's exactly what it reminded me of. It was a rectangular area that was bordered on four sides, 90-degree angles at the corners, looked like it was constructed of large individual rocks. And at one corner, the northwest corner, the wall seemed to continue in a direction almost as if it was bordering a walkway or a path. But surely, whatever it was not natural, and it was constructed by somebody.
And those 4 90-degree angles is not something that is found in nature.
No, not at all. And the dimensions were such that this area that I'll call the corral was about 100 feet by 75 feet, and the opposing walls were perfectly parallel to each other.
Okay, now let's go to the next image, which really is strange. And in fact, the information that came from the whistleblower with this latitude longitude was specifically saying that what looks like white mist, sort of in a rectangular shape, is clearly trying to obscure something that looks rectangular behind. Now, can you go into the length and the distances of what you have found about this and your speculation about whether or not this is some sort of a hologram that is being used to disguise a structure or what?
Yeah, this was extremely interesting, and it was almost a singularity from everything that I looked at on the ocean bottom. There were a number of different objects that did not appear to be natural, but you could see them clearly. And when I got to this one last area, which was just about adjacent to the current borderline or shoreline, if you will, all of a sudden it was obscured. It looked like somebody had painted in a rectangular cloud over this one area, and you could barely see through it. It looked like there were some parallel lines, some perpendicular lines underneath it, but it wasn't possible to determine if and what a structure may have been. But there were definitely straight lines and 90-degree angles in the haze that was used to cover it up.
What if behind that white mist is a portal?
It's surely possible. I think the thing that went through my mind was almost like a docking port or a means to take an underwater vehicle below ground from the water.
Right. Lieutenant Commander, retired Navy SEAL Spartan 1. He says that the vast under ice structures that he walked were made of solid black basalt and had warm temperatures and light. Those black basalt walls were engraved with hieroglyphs and symbols, he said, that resembled Egyptian and Mayan, but were neither. Mark, why do you think that advanced intelligences that can get to Earth from somewhere else in the universe and build with self-activating technology that can sustain warm temperatures and lighting for maybe 34 million years, because the last time that Antarctica was free of ice was 34 million years ago, why would intelligences build with solid black basalt?
Well, that was a question that I had as well. And I began to do some research on basalt, and I'm sure that most people realize that it's an igneous rock that's created by lava that cools very rapidly at the Earth's surface. It's the most common rock in the Earth's crust. So as I began to look up basalt, I came across one article that indicated today that we can take certain types of basalt and actually fabricate basalt fiber, not unlike carbon fiber. And the thing that jumped out at me in the article was they mentioned that this basalt fiber is used today as a shield for radiation. Gamma is a photon, it's a packet of energy, and it can penetrate live tissue or biologic tissue to very great depths. And hence, gamma radiation is a lot of times what we see that causes the effects of an atomic bomb drop.
Right. And I was talking with John Brandenburg, the PhD nuclear physicist. He hypothesizes that if there was some kind of solar system existence in Anunnaki-type civilizations millions and millions of years ago, and that they were using some kind of atomic weapons, that Antarctica, having huge structures made out of black basalt in Antarctica, it might be because those that came to Earth wanted to make sure that they could be shielded from some kind of nuclear attack. And then he pointed out, he said, yes, gamma rays would be shielded out by black basalt. But he said, if you want to shield out neutrons, you need a lot of hydrogen. And he said, you know where there would be a lot of hydrogen in Antarctica? That would be the water ice. So the two combined, basalt and ice, might be one of the best protections on this planet Earth from some kind of an atomic explosion.
Well, I think he's definitely on the right track. What jumped at me, why would anybody, if they wanted to settle in Antarctica, overbuild something? You could keep out the cold with a foot-thick wall. So obviously there was a need to make those walls as thick as it ended up being. And the only thing that jumps out when you look at everything else is they protected against radiation.
It was the size, the dimensions, the thickness of that black basalt that puzzled Spartan 1, and I've often wondered about it. He told me that he had measured one of the big black basalt doors and that it was 17.5 feet wide, 18 feet thick, and 23 feet tall. The walls also ranged from 18 to 30 feet thick. As Captain Wood asked, why would anybody overbuild like that with black basalt in Antarctica? And protection against radiation from gamma bursts and nuclear wars might be the answer. On this Thanksgiving Eve, I want to thank the military and intel whistleblowers who have shared firsthand knowledge and who have told me that they agree with Spartan 1 that all of this needs to be opened up to the whole world. I am always standing by to learn more by encrypted proton mail or FedEx or hard US mail, or even talking to me when I'm surrounded by a large group of people at a conference. And with that, Peggy, I would be very interested in what questions and comments we've had tonight.
First, Linda, I would like to give a couple of thank yous for some super chats we had. To Carrie, Vicky, and Raymond, thank you so much for your support.
Great. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So this question goes back to last week's program. And the viewer asks, have you heard anything about dogmen or bipedal canine and how there's been UFO sightings with them?
No, that is a first in my entire career. I have never heard of anything camouflage, masquerading as standing up dogs or any other thing canine.
We will move on to the next question. Linda, do you think that some animal mutilations could be caused by satanic cults? I'm so sorry.
Okay, let me go all the way back to September, October of 1979, 40 years ago. And I had seen in the press about brand new cases of bloodless, trackless animal mutilations throughout Colorado, where I was director of special projects and worked at the CBS station in Denver. And that there were reports coming from states around us and going up into Canada, especially British Columbia and Alberta. And that some of what I was reading about all of this, right at the very beginning, was that some law enforcement was pushing the notion that these cycles, these rounds of bloodless, trackless animal mutilations were caused by predator, disease, or satanic cult. So I decided to call up one of the Catholic dioceses in Denver and ask if they had anybody who was trained and was working in exorcism. And they put me in touch with a particular Catholic priest who was working on exorcisms. And he came over to Channel 7, came up to my office, and I had a large credenza that I would normally put scripts on, but what I had done is lay out a whole lot of photos that I had gotten by then from sheriffs and ranchers. And I simply asked the Catholic priest, who was skilled with exorcism, if he would look at all these photos and tell me if he had ever seen anything like this in any of his exorcism efforts. And he was in his white collar and his black top, and he spent 5 or 10 minutes just quietly looking at all of the photos that I had. And then he turned to me and he said, Miss Howe, there's nothing here that I have dealt with, because he said, when you are dealing with satanic ritual, you are always dealing with lots of blood. In the photographs that you are showing me, what is striking is the lack of blood. The excisions are neat. The ground is neat. I'm not looking at anything that has blood. That is the opposite of what I deal with in the exorcism of satanic ritual or rites. So that was right at the very beginning of my investigations. And when I went through that entire 9 months, 18 hours a day, no let up, no break, my family, my husband and my daughter understood that I was working on a project that was taking all of my time, and it did for 9 months. During that period of time, there never ever was any evidence whatsoever in any of the cases that law enforcement and ranchers were taking me to them when they were fresh on the ground, and even suggesting the possibility of anything related to satanic cult rituals. And today, as I sit here before you on Thanksgiving Eve of 2019, Having walked, it seems like, thousands of miles in both hemispheres of this planet, investigating animal mutilations in every kind of animal, domestic and wild, and that the pattern is always the same. Ear, eye, tongue, jaw, genitals, rectum and or vaginal tract removed, and sometimes a whole or half of a tail, and every once in a while one of the or both of the teeth on either side of a bovine's mouth. And that when you take all of the physical evidence and you put it all in a book, like I did An Alien Harvest, my very first book that came out in 1989, has never been out of print, and its most recent edition, which I did a year and a half ago, it was awarded Best Nonfiction by the Southwestern Book Association, which I considered a real evolutionary step, because it meant that by 2018, the concept of animal mutilations on this planet is strong enough, wide enough, and that people have understood that the trackless, bloodless nature and the precise excision and the missing organs inside of the body without excisions on the outside of the body, they cannot be done. That cannot be done by anything that humans use. Therefore, what has happened is that animal mutilations, after more than half a century, are now, as we move into 2020, one of the strongest body of evidences, physically, literally, and metaphorically, of some kind of an alien presence, alien advanced intelligence that can do this, that can apparently, in molecular extraction, take a whole heart out of the body of a 2,000-pound bull with no excision on the surface of the body, meaning something is, by frequency, pulling out the heart molecules and touching nothing else. And no blood runs in the bodies of these animals. So it is extremely advanced in intelligence and technology. But the question that has been there right from the beginning of my first investigations in the fall of '79, that started with my talking with the exorcist in the Catholic Diocese in Denver. The question, who or what would be killing and mutilating all of these animals around the world, and especially why? And the closest answer that we have today comes through the people in the human abduction syndrome. They say that the non-humans that they have communicated with or stood in front of in their bedrooms, in their car, on craft, in some other part of the universe, is that we are dealing with consciousnesses and intelligences who harvest genetic material for sustenance and to create body containers that they use for a variety of reasons. And some people tell me, Linda, the world population isn't ready for that information. I completely disagree. I've been working for 40 years. I've stood talking with ranchers who have seen beams of light come out of something in the sky down into their pasture. And they've seen an animal rise up in a beam of light, or an animal lowered in a beam of light, eyewitnesses on their own ranch. And they have been scared. They did not want to walk toward the beam of light that had the animal in. They returned to their ranch house, but nothing happened to them or their family. Not ever. In the morning, when the sun came up and they had more courage and they walked out into the pasture, there was one of their animals dead and mutilated. But nothing ever happened to the family. Over and over and over, location after location where there have been repeated animal mutilations, sometimes 12 in a pasture every month. that was in northern New Mexico, in a place called Dulce. But the humans have been left alone. And those ranchers who have been able to look at me eye to eye, not on camera, they refuse to go on camera, but they have at least talked to me eye to eye, and said, Linda, we know that what is mutilating the animals on our ranch and other ranches are whatever is putting these beams up and down. And when you say, well, I've talked with Sheriff Tex Graves in Sterling, and he says the perpetrators of animal mutilations are creatures from outer space. That's what law enforcement talks about secretly. They talk about it with ranchers secretly. Ranchers talk with ranchers secretly. And I'm the reporter who comes to all of them. And ultimately, it was my choice. It had to be reported. I think in ignorance, we are all weakened. I think if we are all told the truth, we are strengthened. That is what has kept me going for these 4 decades. It is why I'm sitting here tonight on Thanksgiving Eve, talking to you and sharing with you for the first time this very difficult project that is like, in a way, bookends to the animal mutilations. They were hard to do at a time when people rejected the idea that there was an alien presence mutilating animals. Now it's 40 years later and we're moving into the middle of the 21st century. And military whistleblowers are telling me about architecture, huge architecture made out of pure basalt, 2 miles down under ice in Antarctica. And that carved into that black basalt are hieroglyphs and symbols that scientists that have been brought in cannot translate because it is similar to Egyptian and similar to Mayan, but is neither. And what if? What if it is the Anunnaki, the progenitors allegedly of life on this planet, that are humanoid in their own configuration, and that they are responsible for manipulation and the creation of other standing up primates on this planet. And that all of this huge picture goes back to one progenitor humanoid that has been perhaps at war with other types of intelligences. For us to be denied that truth weakens us. And when Spartan 1 said on camera, backlighted, yes, voice altered, yes, but at least he spoke. And he spoke because he thinks you and I and all of us deserve the truth. And when he said, it all needs to be opened, it all needs to be opened up, the truth needs to be told, I completely agree. And I hope that all of you who are coming to the Earthfiles YouTube channel, that you are here, that you are encouraging others to subscribe, because in this space, in this Wednesday night, on a weekly basis, more and more of you are coming to tell me your truth. And I am committed to trying to share with you what I am learning from other whistleblowers, and that as we go forward in more months, I really hope that that headline is out there around the world. We're not alone in this universe. Here are the reasons why. And that not everything is rosy. If everything had been great, we probably would have been told after World War II. But if the remote viewers are correct, there are friendlies, neutrals, and hostiles, and that the friendlies outweigh the hostiles in protecting this planet, I would rather know that than be kept in the dark. And tonight on this Thanksgiving Eve, I extend to you my heartfelt love and light and peace, and pray that this human family can get away from war on our own, and that we won't be manipulated by anybody else who comes here against each other, because we need to be able to share truth. We need to be able to be comfortable to talk with each other about what is really happening in our lives. And on that note, on this Thanksgiving Eve, I want to say, God bless you forever, and I'll see you next Wednesday with another chapter of High Strangeness, brand new news. And keep your letters and your emails coming, because they are extraordinary. Thank you so much.